These are my absolute favourite kind of mornings. Not a soul around, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Some half decent light, the light could certainly be better. And just a whole lot of anticipation of what could be around the next corner. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Now, if you come to Seahouses, the likelihood is you're coming to Seahouses to visit the Farne Islands and to photograph puffins. And I did that yesterday, and I got some fantastic photographs. And hopefully by now you should have seen the video that was connected to that experience. But if you come to Seahouses, puffins is not the only thing that you can photograph. So today I'm going to spend the time along the shore photographing what I hope you can hear behind me, and that is the Eider. Now the Eider have got ducklings, they're actually on the beach as I speak. So I'm going to get on and photograph some Eider ducklings. So if Eider in beautiful golden light is something that interests you, come along for the journey and see what I see. So, as you can see, I am right down on the deck. Now I'm using the ground pod. The ground pod is definitely something I would encourage if ever you're photographing waders on wet sand. It just keeps your kit off the wet sand and allows me to slide the ground pod around to get the most for the photographs. The second thing that you can see, and hopefully you can just about make it out below me here, is I'm using a mat. Now I have got a set of waders that I could put on that'll keep me nice and dry, but I find this mat from Craig Macefield, which is waterproof, absolutely ideal for this kind of photography. I can put it down on the ground, I can lie on it, and I'm not worried about getting wet, and that affords me the opportunity to get nice and comfortable and spend some time photographing these ducks. Check this out. I just love the sounds of the seaside. I absolutely love the sound of the gulls, the smell of the sea air. It's absolutely mindful and really does ease any stresses that you have. I also particularly like being out at first light. It's a magical time of the day. More than anything, you get the place all to yourself. The only other people I've seen this morning are fishermen who are up very early to get out and work out in the deep blue. Other than that, it's just me and the eider duck. Now, eider duck are quite a beautiful duck. Most people know them from eider downs, from the feathers that are used in an eider down duvet. And the females are that typical drab colour for a female duck. They're that brown coloration, but the males, well, they're something quite unique. They look like nothing else within the UK duck population. They're white and black. They've got this beautiful lime green aspect to their bill, and they're an absolutely beautiful, beautiful species. They also make an incredible sound, something that I'm hoping I'll catch for you today. And I heard when I was on Arran very recently. Now I've got a couple of male eider ducks ahead of me that are just nestled down and having a sleep. So I'm going to gently pick my way towards them and see if I can get some photographs. I've got myself nicely tucked behind a rock, and I've got the male eider in front of me. Now what's really important here when you're photographing eider, he's on the move, is what we want to do is be very mindful that we might blow the highlights. We're photographing against a very dark background in amongst this seaweed and rock. And the eider duck has obviously got black and white, very contrasty. So I'm trying to protect the highlights, but keep my ISO low enough that I can actually bring out the shadows in the duck as I underexpose it a little bit. Now I'm doing that with highlight weighted metering, but the whole time I've got my histogram in the viewfinder and I'm just mindful where that histogram is sitting. If it's sitting a little bit to the left, I'll overexpose the image using exposure compensation just to bring it back in line, but again maintaining the protection of those highlights. And I think that gives me the best opportunity for photographing a black and white subject in reasonably bright conditions. It was beautiful golden light when I set off this morning, but it's quite overcast now, so I've definitely lost the best of the light, although there is a few little gaps up there which might afford me the opportunity very shortly. Now I wasn't expecting this. I was photographing the male eider, and the females have just brought the ducklings out right beside where the male was sitting, and so now I've got some stunning opportunities of those beautiful little ducklings as they waddle over the seaweed, making for some absolutely beautiful photographs. Oh wow, this is absolutely amazing. The whole time the mothers, there seem to be two mothers for every group of ducklings. Now I don't know whether that's by design. It was exactly the same on the shore. We've got two mothers and a group of ducklings, and I don't know whether they kind of form a little creche together that gives them that little bit of safety in numbers, because they're very small, these ducklings, and would be very, very easy for, I don't know, maybe a black-backed gull to come down and take one of them. I've also seen a number of heron around, so that's definitely an opportunist predator that would eat one of these ducklings. So I wonder if they stay together to just give them that protection in numbers. But one thing's for certain, the male doesn't seem to have any part in rearing the young. They're so clumsy, these little ducklings. Occasionally they'll stumble on the seaweed and tumble over and kind of shake it off, dust themselves back off, and then they're straight back on it again. It's beautiful just to watch them. What an absolute treat it has been to see these tiny little new bundles of life. So beautiful. What an incredible experience that was, to get that close to those ducklings. They literally walked up to the end of the lens of the camera. They were that close I couldn't photograph them. I started off with the teleconverter engaged. I was shooting at 560, but slowly but surely they came closer and closer and closer, and I was at 400, and then it was just a case of putting the camera down and making the most of seeing them that close. It really is an incredible place to come and photograph Eider. When I saw them on Arran, very skittish. You couldn't, really struggled to get anywhere near them. And what's very apparent here is that people come down and feed them just like you would ducks on a pond. And so it does afford you that opportunity to get nice and close to them. They're not afraid of people at all. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. As long as people are feeding them the right things. I have seen people feeding them bread, which is that stereotypical duck food that we often turn to, and as we know is not very good for ducks. It's much better that you feed them dedicated duck food. Although I believe that when that first came out as relatively new information and people stopped feeding the ducks bread, there was such a reliance on the food that was being provided to them, they struggled. So I don't know whether bread is better than nothing at all, but duck food is definitely the preference that we should be feeding them. There were a couple of shops in Seahouses that sold dedicated duck food, so you don't have to feed them bread, you can feed them the proper food. But either way, what an amazing experience it was to get that close to some ducklings and get some incredible photographs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick my way around the coast. You can see just behind me there the sun desperately trying to peek through this heavy cloud cover. It was beautiful clear blue skies last night when we went to bed, so I was kind of hoping that it would be the same this morning. Foolishly I didn't check the weather forecast, although to be honest with you, there have been days this week where the weather forecaster said that it should be cloudy and the sun was shining, and there have been times when it said the sun should be shining and it's been cloudy. So I take the weather forecast with a pinch of salt. So I'm going to make my way around this headland and see if I can find anything else worth photographing. There is some cliffs as we move around this headland, and there's opportunity for photographing Kittiwakes and Fulmars on the cliffs from the shore, looking up at them, as opposed to what my usually go-to location is, and that would be photographing them looking down from places like Bempton Cliffs. Let's see what we can find. So what we've got in front of us here is the majority of them are kittiwakes, and you can probably just see them as white dots dotted behind me on the cliff face, and they're nesting. And then just every once in a while, in amongst the kittiwakes, where it's more along the grass, we've got fulmar. Now I love fulmar. I just think they're just a beautiful, beautiful, understated, overlooked bird. But I can see several pairs of fulmar in amongst the kittiwake. So I'm just going to get a couple of photographs now. Not going to be able to get much in the way of video. I've not bought a tripod with me, and it's very windy, so it'll be a very unstable video, but hopefully you can hear that sound, and it is absolutely beautiful. The whole time as well, we've got sand martin which are whizzing in amongst us, and I can see that they've got holes in the cliff face where they're burrowing and nesting. Just an absolute wealth of life, which is spectacular to see. So what's really nice is I'm stood quite a way back from the cliff. I would say probably 25-30 metres back from the cliff ledge, and every now and again the Kittiwakes, or particularly the Fulmar, break from the cliff and kind of soar around and then move their way back to the cliff. And it's given me some fantastic opportunities to get some photographs of birds in flight. Now, the key here, and it's a real big consideration, is I don't want to be photographing them against the sky. If I got them against the sky, it's a very meh kind of photograph. But if I can get them where I've got the cliff as their background, or even better, the beautiful textures of the rocks and the seaweed, because they're swooping quite low at times, now that is the absolute best opportunity for a photograph. And the Fulmar in particular are coming nice and low at times, giving me those opportunities. And it's just a case of picking your subject and then tracking it in and taking the photographs. Here's a Fulmar now. They always seem to be arguing, the Kittiwakes, constantly arguing. Oh, that's beautiful and low. Beautiful. Here it comes again. Now, because the birds are not in huge numbers, it's not overwhelming, and you're just really waiting for that opportunistic bird that's coming reasonably close. And it does require a fair bit of waiting. But when those moments happen, as it just did with that Fulmar coming really close, they're really quite a magical opportunity. Oh, it looks like the light might just be coming on now, and it's just breaking through the clouds. Just need a subject. That's nice. Kittiwakes coming in closer. Here it comes again. Oh, I think I got that. I think I got that. So what I've got here is a group of, I think they're sand martins, but they might be house martins, and they're pulling up little bits of the seagrass, and I'm assuming taking that back as bedding in the nest. But it's because they're coming back to the same point, I've been able to get myself nice and low. Oh my word, they're coming nice and low, and they're not fazed by me at all. They're coming in really close and affording me some opportunities for photographs, but also some opportunities for them in flight, something that's very difficult to achieve. Wow, that one was probably only about 2 metres from my foot. And it just goes to show, if you get yourself in a nice comfortable position and you stay static, after a while the wildlife just come back into you. Much better than trying to chase them. So I'm 99% certain that these are house martin. Looking at them, they don't have that sand colour, they have that more kind of blacky blue, inky blue coloration on their head. So I think these are house martins, and they're definitely pulling nesting material off the rocks. And you can probably hear them because they're all about me. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 birds, and they're staying together in quite a tight-knit group, and then just building up the confidence and then coming into land, pulling off some of the nesting material and then whizzing off with it, obviously to wherever it is that they take it. But it is really affording me some fantastic opportunities because I'm just sat nice and still, really comfortable up against a rock. And they're coming closer and closer and closer, all about this pool. And I think that's one of the things that's, well worth mentioning, is that when you observe birds, they're very habitual. And once you see the patterns that they're making, if you put yourself in a position where they're regularly returning to a point and just wait and have patience, they'll come back to you. And then they afford you some fantastic opportunities. If I've got anything decent, I'll pop it up on the screen now for you to see. Well, what an incredible morning I've had here on the east coast at Seahouses. From that fantastic encounter first thing with the Eider duck and those Eider ducklings. What a beautiful, beautiful start to the day. And then the day has just got better and better, with more and more opportunities unfolding as I made my way along the coastline. I think there's definitely something about moving your way through rock pools that takes you back to childhood. It certainly does for me, and many a happy memory of rock pooling as a child. But now, instead of looking for crabs and things in the rock pools, I'm looking for opportunities to photograph wildlife. And I've certainly been given those in bags full, in bucket loads. An absolute highlight has to be those wonderful house martins at the end then. Magical, absolutely magical, something that I probably wouldn't have seen at other points during the day because there'd have been too many people around. And I do urge you, if you are into wildlife photography, get out for first light. It's difficult, it's hard, wrenching yourself from bed when it's still dark, but the opportunities that it gives you are just second to none, and it's worth every second of it. So from the wonderful, wonderful East Coast, until next time, ta-ra.